What's going on, everybody? It's AG here. Today it's time for another episode of Will They, Won't They? And today we're talking about the Texas Longhorns. Will they or won't they make the college football playoff this season? So I asked you guys in the community, will Texas make the playoff? With 268 votes, 87% of you said yes, 13% of you said no. So that adds Texas to y'all's projected playoff field. Right now there are 7 teams in that field. Once I put out my final college football playoff projections preseason wise, I'll release y'all's projections with them, but Texas is in the field. So will they make the playoff once again? Made it last year, really good year last year under Steve Sarkisian. Now they've got a lot of roster turnover. You've got Quinn Ewers back at quarterback, but he loses almost all of his weapons. So, A.D. Mitchell's gone, Xavier Worthy's gone. They're going to have new weapons all over the place. How are those guys going to look? They brought in some nice transfers to be the wideouts out wide, so that should help a little bit, Isaiah Bond in particular. But I think he's going to have weapons to play with, But they do move to the SEC. That grind week in and week out is going to be a little different than it was in the Big 12. So will Texas be able to, make it throughout that? Now, they did beat Alabama last year. All right, so they're definitely capable of playing with those schools. But again, it's different week in and week out in terms of actually making it. But I'll give you my thoughts here in a second. We're going to look at a few comments, then we'll look at their schedule. All right, Jackson Brow says, my opinion is that there will be a top 5 team in the AP polls probably all year. I would agree, because even with their schedule, like with who they could lose to, if they lost a game to, let's say Georgia, for example, they're probably not going to drop too far in the polls. Now, if they lose a bunch of games, they would drop. And then Nick says, hook 'em. All right, so looking at their schedule real quick. All right, obviously at the beginning, Colorado State and Michigan. That's going to be tough going into Michigan. We're going to know a lot about both these teams, really, Texas and Michigan after that game, because Michigan is a completely different roster than they have been. And Texas, like I said, has a lot of weapons as well. So I think they're going to beat Colorado State, no problem. Now, going to Michigan is not any easy task by any means. I think they will beat Michigan, because Michigan does have some question marks at quarterback. We'll see how Alex Orji looks. But having, experienced roster at quarterback, talking about Texas, is going to help them in that game. That game's at 11 a.m. That's going to be tough, because I'm going to be watching film at that time. So, might be calling in sick that day. But anyways, all right, back to the schedule. All right, UTSA, I think they beat them no problem. UTSA should take a step back this year as well. LA Monroe, again, no issue. Mississippi State, that shouldn't be an issue. Now you got Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma beat Texas last year, but that was with Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel's gone to Oregon. I think Oklahoma's going to take a step back as well. I think Brent Venables, I don't know why they gave him that extension without him proving a little more in the SEC. I think Texas beats Oklahoma. Then you've got Georgia. All right, Georgia is the toughest game on the schedule. All right, can they play with Georgia? Can they beat Georgia? Now, I've said in previous videos, if you've been watching, that Georgia plays probably arguably the toughest schedule in the nation. I think they're going to drop a game. I don't know what that game is going to be. It could beat anybody. It could be Texas. It could beat Ole Miss. It could be Alabama, whoever. I think Georgia beats Texas, but I would be curious to see if Texas can play with them, because that could be a potential playoff rematch eventually. But I've got that one loss right now against Georgia so far. Then let's see, Vanderbilt, no problem. Florida, no problem. Florida's down. Arkansas shouldn't be an issue. Kentucky shouldn't be an issue. Then you've got A&M. I think A&M lost so much talent-wise with Jimbo Fisher leaving. It's going to take a little bit for them to get reacclimated with Mike Elko. I think Texas wins that game. So right now I've got them with 1 loss against Georgia. I think they can afford 2 losses if it's to Michigan, Oklahoma, or A&M. I think they could afford those 2 losses and still make the playoff potentially. But right now I've got them with 1 loss against Georgia, and that would put them in the playoff. But what do you guys think? All right, do you agree with the poll? What do you think? Will Texas make the college football playoff this season? Yes or no? Let me know. Comment down below. Make sure to like this video, and most importantly, subscribe.